I'm glad to stand here and talk about the future world spaces and the disruption which the technologies are bringing in today's world. Future world spaces are kind of transforming thanks to the different technologies out here, right? So today we are going to be focusing on the 4 spaces where the transformation is going to happen in a big way. The spaces we are talking about are, the retail spaces, the living spaces, the secure spaces, and the mind spaces. So how these spaces are transforming thanks to the disruptive technologies is what we are going to be focusing on. The first one, when we talk about the retail spaces, we know already there is a e-com disruption happening. The electronic commerce companies, since the time they came in 2007, has been kind of making waves, and the retail spaces are having an impact. Similarly, if you look at the living spaces, the shared living is already a reality. The largest hotel company in the world doesn't even have 1 square feet of building or space with them, owned by them, right? So these spaces are kind of having an impact as we speak, and there are new technologies which are kind of coming in and going to be having a bigger impact as we move forward. So think about smart retail, think about 3D printing. It is going to really transform the way the whole industry is performing today. Then we get into the secure spaces. Is it going to be secure? Is it going to be transparent? What kind of technologies that are coming in from that aspect? We will be talking about the blockchain disruption that is making waves. Already there are proof of concepts that are getting developed as we speak with different governments in India. And we will also understand how the IoT is going to be enabling secure spaces. And finally, we will talk about the most difficult space to deal with, which is the mind space. We all kind of keep talking about different spaces, but if we are not engaging with the customers' mind space and occupy the rightful space for yourself, you're not going to be in business. So that's the whole point we are going to be discussing in the next 20-25 minutes of this conversation. So what do we do? Do we pack and move spaces? Is it possible? So we're not really talking about those kind of disruptions, of course. Let's move on to understand what is important for us at this point in time. As Gates has mentioned, we generally overestimate the change that comes near term within like 2 years, and we overestimate those effects of whatever that comes in the near term, and generally overlook what are going to be coming in the longer run, right? Talk about a 10-year from now, what are going to be coming. And it will have some impact in today's world as well. So we need to really understand and play as we move forward. So the concept of today's conversation is to understand what are these technology disruptions, number 1. Number 2, is it having an impact on the real estate? So now let's take a step back and think about the kind of disruption that has come in the past. Talk about things like Airbnb, which has come and disrupted the way the hotel industry is been functioning today. Did Hilton see it before it came? If Hilton would have seen it, they would have done a lot of things with the kind of muscle they have and the deep pockets they have and the kind of knowledge they have on the hospitality industry. Hilton did not see it. So the question in front of us, ladies and gentlemen, is are we seeing those technology disruptions that are coming our way? Or are we going to behave like Hilton, saying that, hey, everything is all right with us? Does that make sense? So that is the conversation we are going to be having, and what can we do about it? Can we take some hints from history, right? In the last 10, 15 years, we've been seeing multiple disruptions. Can we take some hints and proactively do something rather than waiting for the disruption to strike us? So who is eating into the retail space? Sorry? Amazon? Yeah. Looks like, right? You saw those big teeth coming out there? Okay, due respects to Amazon, we are not trying to belittle them, But the most important thing we need to understand is all the kind of online retail fellows, since the time they came to Indian market, since 2007, is making huge impact on the retail spaces we build and operate. So as realtors, is it worrying us? Is a question in front of all of us, right? Now is it going to slow down? Answer is no. The Morgan Stanley research says it is going to intensify. It is going to grow at 1,200%, right? So it is not small, it is opening big. And the interesting call out in that research paper is it talks about the physical stores help retailers drive online sales. What does that mean? We don't know. Let's look at that. What does that mean? So there is a response system that is happening from the traditional retail, which is talking about smart retail spaces. So there is a lot of smart retail spaces emerging in the market, which is going to counter or converge with the online retail world. So talk about the Biani Group's Retail 3.0. Biani is going all out to set up 10,000 outlets across the country, want to engage deeply with the customers, want to create different experiences. And he is talking about a vision of 2047 to make it really big. Talk about Reliance, the largest industrial house in the country, is not keeping quiet about it. The online to offline integration is being dreamt by Mr. Ambani himself, and he's talking about linking the geo-enabled marketplace to the Kirana stores. So is that all? There is something more happening out there, right? For example, look at the 3D printed houses that is going to be disrupting the housing business. So in this year, April 2018, there is this first 3D printed house unveiled in France. All it took was just 54 hours to build a house. Can you believe that? So here is a veteran sitting here from the realtor business area. All it took was just 54 hours to build the house. It costed 20% less than the normal construction. And the most important thing is, after the building was commissioned, the scientists and the realtors tested it and certified that it will stand for 100 long years. So it is not a short gap arrangement. It is not like installing a magic box which can stand for 25 years. Here is a solution which is going to be working for longer term. So are we into that business? Now let's see how the 3D printer potentially may be looking in action. A short video on that. So you see the flexibility of the printer. It can build curvature buildings. It can kind of print even minute details of whatever we are talking about, the architectural designs. And it is possible. Now the question before you, ladies and gentlemen, forget about creating a factory. Are we thinking about a factory? How many of you have thought about a factory? All this while we have thought about a site, right? We bought land. We said, assembled land and said, okay, the site is created. There is a site office. And on this site office, I will send a ton of people. I'll send the resources, and everything is done. Today, that is how we are operating. Tomorrow, that may not be the case. You may have to think about a factory which can potentially print and deliver to the site where it can potentially get assembled. So your business model may be moving from a building to printing and assembling. Are we thinking about it? Is a fundamental question. Now, we looked at two disruptions happening in this space, right? One is the shared living spaces. On the other side, you talk about 3D printing. Both put together, and the news of Oyo creating 2,000-bed facility. Now triangulate all these three insights and look at where this business is going. Okay? So are we going to be capturing this space? Are we going to be operating this space? And are we going to convert this as an opportunity for ourselves? We need to think. Now, if we need to build and operate spaces, we need to have a system which is secure and transparent. So how do we go about creating a secure and transparent environment around here? So if you see on the right side, you have the whole map, which has got about 5 different states being highlighted. These 5 states have already started doing a proof of concept on blockchain implementation. Why they are going for blockchain? So many people here may be thinking blockchain is the future. Blockchain is not a future, no more. Already our own governments are thinking about experimenting it already and seeing how we can digitize land records. How can we really go about, organizing fragmented ownership? So when we talk about fragmented ownership, it is another big market opening up because of the shared living spaces we have spoken in the last section. So how does blockchain work? This could be one area which may be interesting to all of us. So blockchain originally was developed for the purpose of Bitcoins. We all know about it, right? When cryptocurrency came into the market, that is when blockchain was also unveiled. So blockchain kind of brought in a technology where a public ledger can be maintained. And it can be maintained so securely, not even the governments want to put a finger onto it. None of the governments across the world had said, no, we will take over and control it. Why did it happen? Because of the sturdiness of the technology. And the man who created this technology has become a ghost already. Nakamoto, nobody knows about it, right? So now how this works? Let's look at it. Imagine you have 100,000 with you, 100,000 rupees. For simplicity, let us make it simpler. 100,000 rupees, and out of which you paid, say, the person paid 20,000 rupees at 20% on the rentals. So the rental fellow, the owner of the building, collected 20,000 rupees, and in turn, he had spent 1,000 rupees on maintenance. On the other end, the same man had spent 30,000 he has put 30,000 deposit on the bank, and out of which he has paid 5,000 on the restaurant bills. Today, if the same man would have spent on cash, do you think it is trackable? You paid 20,000 to your landlord. Do you have any clue where that money has gone in the system? You have no clue. The banking system currently, what is operating, cannot give you a trace of your money. The cash system, obviously not. You will never be able to understand where it has gone. But with blockchain, you will be able to completely track the whole movement of your money into different pockets and where exactly it is staying. Now, the interesting way blockchain records it is it records it like an overwriting. So you had 100,000. You gave 20,000 to somebody. So the 100,000 gets split into two, 20,000 and 80,000, and the 20,000 is written in the name of the house owner. And similarly, the 20,000 is split into 1,000 and 19,000, and the record overwrites this 1,000 rupees which has gone into the maintenance hand in the public folder. Now, you may ask, so what? Imagine you go and delete that 20,000 from the transaction. You try to remove that from the chain. The technology automatically recuperates and says, boss, something is wrong. I'm not going to be accepting this transaction. So without the willingness of a person to move funds from one point to the other point, there is no way you'll be able to move funds. That is the fundamental way the blockchain technology works. Now, what is in it for the realtors? Now let's draw a parallel and see how our land records are moving. Say about 100 years back, a zamindar lived somewhere. He had a huge parcel of land, say about 1,000 acres of land he has got. And he has inherited to his heirs, right? And then those heirs might have kept the land, or they might have further inherited it down the line, or they might have also sold the land. Now, selling of land takes place. The land keeps moving and moving. Now, with the smallest piece of the land at the end of the chain, will you be able to track till the origin of where the land originated since the time the recording of land records took place? It is possible today with blockchain. Can anybody tamper with the system? Answer is no. So is it only history? Not necessarily. You can also extrapolate it to the future and see if I am going to be operating this land. Say, for example, we put one nice apartment picture there on the bottommost right. Imagine you are trying to give it on rent like the way Oyo is doing to 1,000 parties. You will be able to first track all of them. What is the revenues you are expecting from them? And how long you have to keep the maintenance cycle. Multiple things you will be able to track using this technology. Now, how can we make use of it? You can adopt blockchain for your own property deals. You are buying a set of lands. You can say, OK, I'm going to record it from the time the land comes into my organization, and then track it down the line. You may assemble it. You may convert it from an agricultural land to a commercial property. You can record it. After that, you may again create plots and layouts. You may record it. And you may sell a piece of it to somebody, record it. You may rent it to some people, still record it. Now, is it going to be useful? 100% useful, because the system will become completely transparent, and you will be able to see through what is happening out there. And whenever the government unveils, you can simply hook. Remember GST? Did we all panic when GST came? We did, right? Don't need to panic when blockchain hits you. You create the blockchain technology, record those transactions, whatever you're doing today. And down the line, when the government opens up, you just simply hook on to the government so that you can see the history of the whole land chain since the time government started recording it. And similarly, when you give it for fractional ownership to 100 people or 1,000 people, you will be able to track and report. It is a huge innovation which can be useful for people like us in this room. Now let's move on. So fundamentally, why all these changes are happening? We talked about living spaces are changing. We talked about the retail spaces are changing. Why are these happening? It is all happening because of to capture one simple point, which is the mind space of the customer. So what is this mind space of the customer, which is the most sophisticated of all the spaces in my view? It is not easy to track. It is not easy to understand what they are thinking. It is not easy to know where they are going and where they are going to invest their money on. So how do we track mind spaces is something very important criteria if you have to own and operate the properties, right? Because you're going to be dealing with humans, okay? And these humans are not going to just pay one time to you and forget you. They're going to pay you month on month. They're going to pay you year on year. So it becomes more important for realtors to understand the mind spaces of the customers. So what does that mean? Are we advertising yet? How many of us are advertising even today? There's a lot of hands out there, right? So there is a huge advertisement that goes, like, for example, every Friday it is fun to watch the Times property. It is fun to watch the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, so many advertisements, full-page advertisements with offers where you say, hey, pay 2 lakhs only, nothing till possession, and all those kind of stuff. Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it is because you are going to attract customers, right? How many leads come to you? Imagine you spend 25 lakhs on an advertisement. And how many leads? 100 leads, 200 leads, 500 leads, 1,000 leads comes? Is it a reality or no? No, right? Even if we take the best case scenario, 1,000 leads comes, you're spending 25,000 rupees to get a lead. Forget about an order. It is not even an order. It is just a lead, an interest. And out of those guys, only 1/10 of those guys will potentially convert. That means what? You are spending 250,000 rupees for attracting one customer. Okay? Now, is it really effective? Why is it not effective? Before, it used to be a lot effective. No doubts about it. 10 years before, it was very effective. Today, is it effective? Is a question mark. Why it is becoming ineffective, we need to understand. So you need to know your customers. Now, let's look at this. 72% of the first-time home buyers do not even read a newspaper, for your information. They don't. Okay? That is the irony of it. We keep spending on it, but nobody reads it. Now, let's look at who reads it. Look at that last limb. People over 68 years are the folks who are leading it. Are we really targeting them? That's the question you need to ask yourself. If we are not targeting them, it is going to be a lot of money down the drain. Now let's look at more data around this. Okay? Talk about what is the difference between Generation X, somebody like me, to a Generation Y. I saw a lot of interesting kids going around here at their early 30s or in the late 20s. What do? How do they live their life is completely different from the way I used to live my life, or many of the people in this room live their life, isn't it? For example, look at this interesting diagram. When time permits, download this and look at it. This particular chain of what you see from top down is the way we all live. Very simple, isn't it? We started our life, we lived with our parents, then we went to college, we finished education, we got married, and then bought a home, settled. Very simple. Wherein today it is not the case. Look at a millennial. The moment my son was put into the college, the first year he came and asked, Papa, I want to go out and live with my friends. I don't want to live in the, college campus. I want to live alone. Why, dear? Why do you want to go and live out? His answer was very simple. I want to be independent. A 19-year-old lad is telling, I want to be independent. Okay? The complex chart you see on the right side, that is how millennials live. Millennials don't live the way we lived our life. And now what does it mean to us? Generation X wanted to invest and save early on. The moment I had my first paycheck, which was hardly 3,000 rupees 25 years before or 30 years before, my dad said, deposit it in the bank. Create an RD. How many of us know even RD today, right? So people said, save, save, and save. That is how we lived our life. Today, that is not the case. Spend, spend, spend is the way of life, right? It has become very consumer-oriented, consumption-oriented. People want to consume. I'll show you some interesting charts here. Now look at this bottom pie chart, okay? 32.7% spent on entertainment, including eating out. This is how millennials spend their money. And these are not millennials across the globe. This is only specific to India. This data point is done by Indian company, and it is being presented for us, okay? And look at the last two percentages. 10 to 12% is what they invest in the bank, and less than 6.5% to 7% is what they put aside for property. If that is all the money they throw in property, even if they earn a 200,000 rupee paycheck, what is the money we are talking about? Is hardly 13,000 bucks. With 13,000 bucks, are they going to be paying the EMI? Answer is no. They are different, okay? On the other hand, on the top side of the diagram, if you look at it, the bar chart clearly says that they are willing to pay more money for an experience which is created specifically for them, a personalized experience. You and I will not pay that extra buck. If a flat is costing 1 crore of rupees, and somebody tells, you know what, I'll put some IoT in it. I'll put some smart gadgets in it. You pay me 1.2 crores, I will say, sorry boss, give me a plain vanilla thing, I'll figure it out myself. But the millennials are not going to be talking that way. The millennials are going to be saying, you do everything and give it to me and I'm going to take it. Okay? So that is what that chart talks about. So what is that the mind spaces are moving is it is moving from consumption instead of investments. They do not want investments. They want consume. They want better experience, not price offer. You pay 2 lakhs, wait till possession, no extra money to be paid. They don't damn care about it. Please, let us get it clear. They don't care about it. If your audience doesn't care about it, why are you telling it again and again? Why are you leaving the money on the table? It's a question you need to ask yourself. Okay? Now, how can we deliver greater customer experience with IoT? Look at some of these interesting videos, right? Simple, bite-sized ones. Can the fridge tell me, hey, you're consuming more? When I lived in US, first time I went and took a place, the moment you go and ask for a place, the place comes prefixed where there are all those things, right? You don't get a plain vanilla home at all. You get your laundromat there, you have your refrigerator there, you have everything fitted. The kitchen is completely fitted. You don't get a plain vanilla thing. And today, ladies and gentlemen, India is now poised to transform into that segment. And if you can enable smart devices, today the folks want to do shared living. Do we need to ask ourselves that can the office space and the personal space still be separate? Or can it be together? Can there be hybrid spaces where people can eat, live, sleep, wake up in the morning, start the work, and keep doing the work? Are satellite offices going to be a reality? Answer is yes. So the way people are going to be living is changing, the way their mind spaces are changing, and we better change the same way. So what realtors in this group can really do could be to offer a personalized property on demand. You can let them consume first, like the OYO is doing. That is the right strategy. Allow them to consume, allow them to experience. They will come in, they will sit in the nice apartment, they will get all the nice IoT gadgets, then they will ask you how much I should write the check for. Otherwise, they are not going to be talking to you. You put 100 salespeople, they are not going to talk to you because they know more than what we all collectively know. Finally, it is the great experience, not price discounts. Don't throw money on the table. It is not the price which is going to decide anymore. Price was an interesting factor which was useful when the information was not flowing. Today, so much of information is flowing, price is becoming irrelevant. Now, let us wrap up. Changing world spaces, is it changing? Answer is yes, the retail space is changing, the living space is changing. These secure spaces are becoming a reality, and mind spaces are changing. And if you look through the keyhole, you will see a bright future out there for folks who want to really transform from build and sell mode to build and operate mode. And what are the opportunities we spoke about? How do you tap into those opportunities is by building, understanding these disruptions, unlocking the potential opportunities, and so as you can build future world spaces. The future world spaces is in your hands. Whether you are going to be taking it or you are allowing a hotel company to do it, it is up to you. I leave the judgment to you. That's all I've got. This is the company I work with. And this company helps people and the organizations to digitally transform. I just wanted to register that. And any question and answers on this? OK.
Dr. Kumar, I've been engaged in this space with clients looking at this, and I recognize that the shared space concept, it's blockchain, that is going to allow the one thing that is still missing is basically increase in value over time. In the real estate space, our clients own space, whether through a rental agreement or ownership agreement. Over time, there's a way to track or hope that it appreciates. It may also depreciate.
Absolutely.
When you have shared space, the question is, can that happen? With blockchain, it can. And the question is a deeper understanding of how that will work, because it will change the nature of our business into selling segments of time, segments of time to use space, and whether that can increase or decrease in value. Would you comment on that?
OK. So the question is whether the appreciation of assets or depreciation of assets can be recorded here. The appreciation and depreciation becomes very important when you're going to be building and selling it. When you're going to be building and operating it, the appreciation is going to be whether the value is appreciating, where people are going to be paying more for the same space going forward. It is no longer going to be, whether my property has increased the valuation by 10% or 20% or 50%. Does it answer your question?
It does answer the question, and in fact, I see it happening because there's a concept called timeshare for hotels that in the past had been viewed as a boondoggle.
Very true.
Most recently, I went to a Marriott presentation where you pay today not for a time and space, but for a number of points. And over time, in fact, the entity Marriott will continue selling points, but at a higher value.
Absolutely.
So that what I bought now can be worth more in the future.
Absolutely.
When you have something like blockchain, you can have, in fact, a right to use space by size or whatever, and over time, if the experience of that space increases, people will be willing to pay more. It's what you described.
Absolutely.
It's not a vague increase in value. It's actually, does the experience warrant somebody to want it more? And I think that's the space where, as real estate professionals, we don't quite understand how that will work.
I understand, yeah. So what Marriott is doing is just, emulating whatever Bitcoins did, right? So when Bitcoins was launched, it was not of great value. Today, what is the value of a Bitcoin? Anybody knows? It dropped so much recently, yeah. 25,000 US? 4,85,700 rupees. That's a lot of money, right? So now what is happening, right? The whole idea of the currency movement towards cryptocurrency is to kind of make it easy, reduce the government intervention in a big way, and to make the whole transaction smooth, right? And they have achieved that. And what Marriott has tried to do is the same point system. Instead of a Bitcoin, they have kind of, used some points which are equivalent to a Bitcoin points into the hotel system, right? So, okay, here I want to record something. If you leave it to the hotels, right, they will bring their own legacy into the system. Now, already Bitcoin has left a legacy in the blockchain. They will try to bring that legacy in, and they will also bring other legacies. What kind of legacies? You have to check in by 12 o'clock, one of the legacy. You can't do anything about it. People may land in the airport in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and they have to wait till 12 o'clock to check in. Okay, this is one of the legacies of the hotel system. Wherein, when we do it, we may bring our own legacies into the system. So we need to be really careful when we create this new technology adoption into the real estate. We have the flexibility to think more openly. Yes, sir.
Why did the Bitcoins lose value suddenly?
Why the Bitcoins lose value suddenly?
Yeah, so why did the Bitcoins lose value suddenly?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So talk about stock market, sir. Okay, why the stocks are dropping in value? Okay, in currency terms, the value of money has also been depreciating over a period of time. What was 100 rupees when you were young is no longer 100 rupees, the same 100 rupees today. And it is not only for the Bitcoins. It is applying even for money, right? Even for the cash, the physical cash we are dealing with. So there are multiple factors that affect cash valuation. Some of the factors, interesting factors, is simple things like your GDP also determines money valuation, right? And from there only they derive and say, hey, is it money going to be 70 per dollar or 50 per dollar is basis that, plus some of the purchasing parity elements which we are calculating.
Doc, just to add to that, I think the MQ of Bitcoin has not fallen. It's only the EQ. So it's really the perceived value.
I understand.
Perceived value, the emotional quotient of the Bitcoin has fallen, not the money quotient.
Absolutely, absolutely, agree.
You mentioned the experience of the millennial, especially because they are the new generation that are coming. Can you elaborate? First, let the consumer experience, and then they'll buy. Can you elaborate more as far as for us real estate people that how can we implement the experience so the consumer will buy?
Sure. So let us take the same example of OYO rooms creating a shared living spaces, right? Today, what OYO is promising is very minuscule. They talk about, I will give you Wi-Fi, I will give you a TV, I will give you a washing machine and things like that, which are standard gadgets, which the millennial has already experienced it in their homes. Their own parental homes, they have experienced it. Now, imagine you're creating an intelligent home, which has got a smart lighting system. And bring them in and say, boss, I'm giving to you on a rental basis or a long lease basis. They would want to come and have those experiences. It could be smart lighting, it could be the technology which kind of connect with the neighborhood retail, where I'll be able to replenish some of the stocks. Multiple things you can do. Today, those technologies are available. So you can enable some of those technologies, which are your unique selling proposition, and tell them, welcome, sit here, experience it. After a few years, they may come and tell you, boss, can you build something wonderful like this for me? They will only come when they think it is relevant, and when they think the experience is worth paying for, right? So that is where you need to take them to.
Thank you.
Shiv, I had a point, Zahid here.
Yep, yes, I.
Okay, now I just wanted some clarity. You just spoke about, newspapers going out of business, literally. Because, of course, it's a major source of revenue for them.
Yeah.
The real estate business, as you said, so much of money is going in there. Now, as real estate professionals, how do we reach out to these people? How do we reach out to this young generation? You technology-wise, how do we reach out to them?
Fantastic question. That is very close to my heart. So how do we reach out to people? The question itself is misplaced. It is an older year question. It is about how do they reach out to you? Okay. Right? That is what is today's millennial wants. They don't want somebody to give a telecalling and say, sir, there is a great thing. They will just slam the phone. And they also know. In fact, here, my son taught me how to enable quickly the D&D without going to multiple steps, so that anybody calls, you will not receive that call. Okay? They know how to really put a cordon, and say that you will never be able to reach them. You send them emails, it will go to junk. You will send them, social media messages, it will again go to junk. Many a times we think junk is only meant for emails, isn't it? Junk is meant for every format of communication. So if you want to really win them over, get them to you. I'll give a simple example. There is a cycle company which wanted to really create market for the millennials. They did not advertise. They did not do all the standard tamashas we do, right? We send emails, we send social media messages. They don't do all those things. They created a cyclathon. Will millennials come there? 100% they will come there. Will they spend time with your cycles? 100% they will spend time with your cycles. The question what the lady asked, right? How will I enable experience? You can enable experience with those kind of activities rather than doing the old methods of broadcasting and bothering them with information. Hope that answers your question. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for the opportunity. I extend a special thanks to Shoaib, my mentor, who kind of connected me to this group. I thank Mr. Farooq and Zayed to make this happen. Thank you very much.